My sister called me on a Tuesday night and I almost didn't pick up. I was elbow deep in a lesson plan for the next day, half a glass of wine on the coffee table, the TV on mute in the background. I saw her name light up my phone and almost let it go to voicemail. We topped the weekend before. I figured it could wait. Something made me answer. "Hey," I said, kind of in the middle of something. She didn't do her usual thing where she apologizes for interrupting and asks if she should call back later. She just said, "Rachel, I need you to listen to me." Her voice was different, flat in a way that made me set down my pen. "Okay," I said. "I'm listening. Before you leave for your parents' place Thursday, I need you to do something. I need you to check the credit card statements, the joint one, all of them, going back 3 months. I laughed a little, confused. What? Why? Did something happen? She paused for a second too long. Just do it, okay? Tonight, and call me after. She hung up before I could ask anything else. I sat there for a minute with my phone in my hand, the lesson plan forgotten. My sister isn't dramatic. She isn't the kind of person who calls you with mysterious instructions and hangs up. She's the one who texts you 3 days later to see how you're doing. She's measured, calm. She thinks before she speaks. Which is why I opened my laptop. My husband and I had been married for 4 years. We met when I was 26, got engaged at 28, married at 29. I'm 33 now. We have a house in a suburb outside of Columbus. 3 bedrooms, a yard we always talked about doing something with, a dog named Biscuit who sheds on everything we own. My husband works in sales. He travels maybe 1 week a month, sometimes more. I teach 4th grade. Our life was not exciting, but it was ours, and I loved it. I genuinely loved it. I found the first thing within 10 minutes, a charge to a restaurant I'd never heard of. $68 on a Wednesday night 3 months ago when he'd told me he was staying late at the office. I remembered that night because I'd made his favorite soup and left it in the fridge with a sticky note on the lid. I remember wondering why he hadn't texted to say he'd be late. I kept going. A hotel charge. One night 40 miles from our house, on a Friday in October when he told me he was visiting his college roommate in Dayton, a florist, $91. He has never once bought me flowers in 4 years of marriage. Not because he's cheap, he's not, but because I once told him early in our relationship that I preferred living plants over cut ones, and he remembered. He always remembered things like that. By the time I called my sister back, it was almost midnight. I wasn't crying. I was somewhere past crying, in that strange cold place where your brain is just processing and can't stop. She picked up on the first ring. "How bad?" she asked. "How long have you known?" Another pause. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. I saw something in September. I ran into him at a place near my office and he was with someone. He said she was a co-worker. I believed him. But then last week I saw them again and it didn't look like co-workers, Rachel. I asked her to describe the woman. She did. I didn't recognize the name or the description. Of course I didn't. We talked for 2 hours. By the end, I had a plan. I was not going to confront him that night. I know myself. I know that if I had walked into our bedroom right then and said what I knew, I would have cried and he would have denied it and I would have had nothing concrete in my hands. I needed something real. I needed to not be the hysterical wife with no proof, because I knew how that story went. I'd heard it from enough people, how they confronted their partner and got told they were imagining things. They were paranoid. They were crazy. And slowly they started to believe it. That wasn't going to be me. My sister suggested the camera. She'd read about it somewhere, she said. One of those small ones, motion activated that you could check from your phone. She said she'd buy it and drive it over in the morning before I left for school. I told her she didn't have to do that. She told me to stop talking. She was at my door at 7:15 the next morning with a coffee and a small box. We set it up together in the living room, tucked between the books on the shelf, angled toward the couch and the front door. You'd never see it unless you knew exactly where to look. She showed me the app on my phone, how to switch between live view and recorded clips, how to get notified when motion was detected. You're going to Mom and Dad's for Thanksgiving Thursday, she said. That's 2 days. He's supposed to come Friday afternoon, I said. Drive up after work. She looked at me. Is he? I'd already started to wonder. Driving to school that morning, I kept the radio off. I thought about the soup in the fridge with the sticky note. I thought about the florist charge. I thought about every time I'd kissed him goodbye when he left for a work trip and never once had a single doubt. I'm not a suspicious person by nature. I don't go through phones. I don't check locations. I had given him my whole trust like it was nothing. Like trust was something you just handed over once and didn't think about again. I got through the day on autopilot. 22 9-year-olds asking me about long division and the Pilgrims, and I answered every question, gave every sticker, read the whole chapter of Charlotte's Web aloud after lunch in the voice I do for Wilbur, and not one of them knew anything was wrong. I've always been good at that. Compartmentalizing. Keeping the inside separate from the outside. He was home when I got back. Making dinner, actually. Pasta, the way he makes it with the sausage and the fresh basil from the pot on the windowsill. He kissed me when I walked in. Asked how my day was. I told him it was fine. Long. I sat at the kitchen island and watched him cook and thought, I don't know you at all. We ate dinner. We watched TV. He fell asleep on the couch and I sat next to him with my phone in my lap and watched the camera feed from 6 feet away. There was nothing to see that night. Just my living room, quiet, Biscuit asleep on the rug. I left for my parents' house Thursday morning. My husband kissed me goodbye in the driveway, told me to drive safe, said he'd see me Friday after work. I drove 40 minutes to my parents', sat at their kitchen table, helped my mother peel potatoes, and checked my phone every 20 minutes. The notification came Thursday night at 9:47. Motion detected. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door and opened the app. The footage was clear, better than I expected, honestly. My sister had bought a good one. I could see the front door opening, my husband walking in, and behind him, a woman. She was younger than me. That was the first thing I noticed. And I hated that it was the first thing I noticed, because it felt like the wrong thing to focus on, but there it was. She walked into my living room like she'd been there before. She didn't look around the way you do in a new space. She went straight for the couch, dropped her bag on it, and started taking off her coat. I watched 12 minutes of footage in that bathroom with the exhaust fan running so no one could hear me. At one point, he poured 2 glasses of wine. He poured them from the bottle I'd opened Tuesday and left on the counter. I turned the water on and stood over the sink and breathed. My reflection in the mirror looked like someone I didn't recognize. Not because I looked devastated. I thought I would look devastated. I looked calm, focused, like something had clicked into place, some last piece of a puzzle I hadn't known I was putting together, and now the picture was complete and clear, and I could see exactly what I was looking at. I texted my sister, I have it. She replied in under a minute, I'm calling my friend from law school in the morning. Don't do anything yet. I slept 4 hours that night. I was up before my parents, sitting at their kitchen table in the dark with a cup of coffee, making a list on my phone. Not an emotional list. A practical one. What accounts were in both our names. What was mine before the marriage. What we'd bought together. The house. What we'd each put in. I knew these numbers. I'm a planner. I've always been a planner. My sister's friend, the attorney, called me Friday morning. She was calm and matter-of-fact in the way that people are when they spend their days dealing with the worst moments of other people's lives. She told me what to do first. She told me what not to do. She said not to touch the joint accounts yet, not to move money, not to make any financial moves until we'd spoken more formally. She said to save everything, every statement, every charge, every piece of footage. She said to act normal. Act normal. My husband drove up Friday afternoon, just like he said he would. He walked into my parents' house with a bottle of wine and hugged my mother and shook my father's hand and sat at their table and ate leftover turkey and talked about football. He is so good at it. That's what I kept thinking. He's so good at this. He has been doing this, the normal husband routine, the easy laugh, the remembered details, while building an entirely separate life, and he has never once slipped. Not once. And I had been right there. Saturday morning I told him I wanted to go for a drive. Just the 2 of us. He said sure, grabbed his coat. I drove. I didn't tell him where we were going. He didn't ask. He put on music and scrolled his phone and watched the Ohio farmland go by out the window. About 20 minutes out, I pulled into a gas station parking lot and stopped the car. He looked over at me. Everything okay? I looked at him for a moment. Really looked at him. 4 years of a face I thought I knew. I need to show you something, I said. I opened my phone. I pulled up the footage. I pressed play and held it out to him. I watched his face while he watched the screen. I'd thought I would feel something enormous in this moment. Rage, maybe, or grief, or some combination of both that would be too big to hold. What I actually felt was very still. Quiet. Like I was watching from somewhere slightly above myself, detached and clear-eyed. He stopped the video before it finished. He set my phone down on the center console. He looked straight ahead through the windshield. He didn't deny it. I'll give him that. He didn't insult me by trying to explain it away or tell me I was misunderstanding what I saw. He said her name. He said it had been going on for 7 months. He said he was sorry. He said it in the flat way people say things when they know sorry means nothing. I said, I know. My attorney knows too. He looked at me then. I picked up my phone and started the car. We drove back to my parents' house in complete silence. He packed his bag. He told my parents he had to get back for work. Some excuse, I don't remember what. My mother looked at me with those eyes she has, the ones that see everything, and I gave her the smallest nod and she let him go. My sister came over that afternoon. We sat on the back porch in our winter coats because it was freezing and neither of us wanted to be inside with everyone, and she brought hot chocolates from the gas station, and we sat there and I told her everything. I keep waiting to fall apart, I said. Maybe you already did, she said. In the bathroom Thursday night, and now you're on the other side of it. I thought about that. Maybe she was right. Maybe the falling apart happened privately, in a gas station bathroom mirror, and now what was left was just the work of figuring out what came next. The weeks after were not clean or easy. I want to be honest about that. There were nights I sat on the kitchen floor and cried in a way that felt like it was coming from somewhere very deep and very old. There were days I drove to school and sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes before I could make myself go in. Biscuit slept against my legs every night like he knew, pressing his warm, heavy weight against me. And I was more grateful for that dog than I've ever been grateful for anything. I moved back into the house. He moved out. The attorney handled the paperwork. He didn't fight it. I think he knew there was nothing to fight, not with what I had. The house is in my name now. The accounts are separated. Biscuit is mine, though he was always mine. My fourth graders made me a card in February, a big one with all their names signed in different colors of marker. They don't know why I'd been a little quieter than usual, a little more tired looking some mornings. They just knew, the way kids know, that their teacher needed something. The card said Jate Till Swoon, which made me laugh for the first time in what felt like weeks. I put it on my refrigerator and it's still there. My sister and I talk every day now. Not always about anything important. Sometimes just to talk. I think about the Tuesday night I almost didn't answer her call. I was elbow deep in a lesson plan. I had half a glass of wine on the table. It seemed like it could wait. I don't know what my life looks like in a year. I don't know what I want it to look like. For right now, I'm living inside single small days. Getting up, feeding the dog, driving to school, reading Charlotte's Web in the Wilbur voice, driving home, making dinner, sitting on my couch in a house that is fully mine. It's not the life I planned, but it's real and it's solid under my feet and it's mine. That turns out to be enough. For now, it really is enough. I used to think that betrayal was something you felt immediately, like a fire alarm going off, loud, unmistakable, impossible to ignore. I thought if someone was lying to me, some part of me would know. Some instinct would kick in. I believed that about myself. I really did. What I know now is that some people are very, very good at maintaining two lives at once, and the person being lied to isn't naive or stupid. They're trusting. There's a difference, and it took me a long time to stop confusing the two. Daniel made choices, one after another, for 7 months. Each one required a decision. Each one required him to look at me, at our house, our dog, our life, the soup I left in the fridge with a sticky note, and choose the lie anyway. That's not something that happens to a person. That's something a person does, deliberately, over and over again. I can't explain it away or find the reason that makes it make sense, because there isn't one. Some things just are what they are. What I keep coming back to is my sister. She saw something in September and it sat in her chest for 2 months while she turned it over, trying to be fair, trying to be sure, not wanting to blow up my life on a maybe. That kind of love, careful, patient, willing to carry something heavy alone so she could hand it to me at the right moment. I don't take that for granted anymore. I never should have taken it for granted in the first place. She didn't call me with accusations. She called me with a credit card statement and a flashlight and said, "Look for yourself." She let me see it with my own eyes so that no one could ever make me doubt what I knew. I think about the kind of person I want to be on the other side of this. Not bitter. I've worked hard at that, and I'm still working. Not closed off, because I don't want fear to be the thing that shapes the next chapter of my life. But clearer. More honest with myself about what I'm seeing versus what I want to see. That's the real thing I'm taking from all of this. I was so invested in the life I believed I had that I stopped paying attention to the life I actually had. I handed over my trust like it was unlimited, like it cost nothing to give and nothing to lose. Trust is not unlimited. It's not weakness to recognize that. It's not cynicism either. It's just honesty, the kind I owe to myself before I owe it to anyone else. Biscuit is asleep against my leg right now as I write this. The house is quiet. It's mine. I teach my students every day that character is what you do when no one is watching, and I believe that. I have believed it my whole career. I just forgot for a while to apply it to the people I let into my own life. Rachel made it through. Not because everything turned out perfectly, but because she didn't fall apart when the truth arrived. She looked at it. She planned. She let the right people in and kept moving. That's all any of us can do, really. Look clearly, act with integrity, and trust that the life waiting on the other side of the hard thing is worth walking toward. It is. I promise you it is.